before you go footy, from our point of view, it's a privilege to host, to be part of this, to build a partnership and show our support. And we're endeavouring to have similar values. Our values are about prioritising others, and I don't think there's an organisation or a group of people that do it better than our emergency services. They put themselves out there, and it's all about looking after everyone else. So our players are working to be somewhere near that. We've got a long way to go, but it's our privilege to be involved. Thanks, Emily.
Do you have a chat with the boys before the game about the emergency services, or do you bring someone in?
We were just chatting about it previously. Our boys know which game is on the ground beforehand, and this is always of the highest standard. I think there's a lot of fireys that have played footy in the past. If not, they're still playing footy at a high level. And so when our guys come up pre-game and there's a game going on the Oval and it's of the standard that we see every year, they're pretty excited about it.
That prioritising others, I feel like it's been really evident the first couple of rounds. You can see every contest, every goal, every tackle, it's all sort of applauded as a team. Has there been an even added focus on that this year?
Yeah, there has been. It's not new. It's something that we've worked on. We probably haven't had the opportunity to celebrate as much as we have in the last couple of weeks. We'd like to think we're doing that even when the game's not going our way, but it is a lot tougher to do. But our guys are they're connected at the moment. There's a cohesion there that we haven't seen. Our guys are really dialed in at the moment. They're playing some of the best football they've played in a long time, and so we know how hard it is to stay in that space. The game is a really tough one, and a new challenge comes up every week. So we're embracing that, we're enjoying it, and we know now the key to us is being consistent in that space.
You've been a lot of plaudits recently. How big of a challenge is it to keep that 1 week focus when there is so much excitement and love coming for you?
It's not hard from what we're doing internally. We can't control a lot of the noise from outside, and that is what it is. As long as we all know what it is, the job we've got to do, and we're about to step into that again today. So our guys are preparing to train as they normally do, and I mention it to you guys every week. We come out and we go hard and we train hard. We take some risk in amongst that, but we know that that's what gets us to the level of footy we need to get to. So we're focused on North Melbourne. It's going to bore the hell out of you guys, but we have to. We can't not do that. We had too many learnings across the journey, and we're going to embrace where we're at the moment.
What have you learned from last year then, given it's a pretty stark difference, given in the way you're also performing, but the way you've been able to, keep your eyes narrow, keep the focus narrow?
We've already learned our lesson. We did a fair bit on that last year. This year's just been focused on the moment, and that's from what we're doing today through to their day off tomorrow, how they go about that. We're starting to become a lot more of a mature group when it comes to preparing ourselves for week in, week out, and we hope that brings consistency.
Is it possible to make changes to a team that's just kicked 25 goals?
If our group's healthy, you'd love to keep that, wouldn't you, all year? We know that won't be the case. It's a combat sport, and so you will have injuries throughout the year. It's where those injuries come or when they come. At the moment, again, it's all of these ones. Touch wood, we're in a position at the moment where we have the luxury of being able to select from our full squad. There are teams in the competition that aren't quite having that luck, and it's making it tougher for them. So we've got to embrace that at the moment and take it for what it is. We've done a lot of work on that, so we're quite proud of where that's at, but we know we're going to be challenged, and this week will be an interesting one. We'll train, and hopefully we can play the same side as we've done for 2 weeks.
How's that go with someone like Sid then, who's been the sub the last 2 games? Do you look at when does it come to a tipping point where he has to maybe even drop down the sandful or come into the 22 to actually get more game time to keep fit?
Yeah, keep his match fitness up. We do a lot of work around that too. So if Sid doesn't play, if he plays a quarter and a half, then he does a fair bit of work to get his numbers and his loads back up where we need them. But there's always that. There is a challenge with that, playing at match level, and the demands of what competition is, and against an oppo is not the same as running back and forth up and down the ground. You'll see him doing that post game. I know he doesn't enjoy it, but at the moment it's not an issue. I mean, Sid's a professional already. That's why he was picked up in the draft so high. He's a pro, and so it'll just be one we'll keep an eye on over the coming weeks.
It's also obviously struggled the past few years, but is what they did to Melbourne last week a reminder of what can happen if you do take your eye?
Well, yeah, well, they're a different side. There's no doubt about that. They're they've made some acquisitions, some really high-level acquisition experience across all lines. They've got some fantastic youth coming through, guys that we looked at in the draft and loved, and they're playing accordingly. They're showing the talent that they've got. Last week, their performance was as good as any in the competition. So, from our point of view, we love to see that. We like to see the best of them, and we know what it is, what level we're going to have to be at. And so, our guys have embraced that. We've had a good look at them today. We'll go again over the next couple of days to make sure we know them well, and then we'll try and get our game to the level it's been at.
Is that going to be the biggest test for you from a midfield and then defensive point of view, given, I guess, how potent North's midfield was in the fourth quarter especially, but then Larky up forward as well to test the defenders?
Yeah, well, it's across all lines. It's, I know the midfield was spoken about a lot, and so it should be, because they've been dominant this year. Even in their first game, they didn't get the result in the end against the Bulldogs. They played some great footy. So the midfield's going to be a huge challenge for us. But at both ends, you could talk about both ends. I mean, Combin's been incredible with what he's been doing behind the ball with Aiden Core, and I've worked with Corey, and he's a fantastic operator, experience under his belt. And you mentioned Larky ahead of the ball. Add Darling into that as well. You can start to feel the experience that they've now brought in. So we're not playing North Melbourne from last year. We know every team develops. They've made huge development across a short period of time under a high-level coach.
Do you think they've turned the corner under Clarko?
I think whatever they're doing it really well. It's a credit to them. They're playing some great footy. As I said before, though, you've got to be on the day. We've been up and about. They were up and about last week, so it should be a really good hit out.
Is there a tougher test for Riley O'Brien this season than Tristan Xerra?
I didn't even mention him in amongst it, but no, you're right. Not to this point. I think with what he showed last week, he's one of the premier ruckmen in the competition.
What Zach Merritt was able to do, albeit in a losing effort last week, I think a couple of games where Luke Davies-Uniacke's had similar sort of success. You seem resistant as a club to really go with a hard tag. Is that something that we'll continue to see?
I wouldn't say we're resistant. We like to back in our team, and we push that we're a team and that we play our best footy when we play as a team. When you do tag, you take one guy out of that, and it can change the way you structure up. In saying that, if the results going our way, we won't make a change to that. We're getting a lot of things right, and Merritt's one of the best players in the competition. So, can you stop him? Completely. We'll often ask ourselves that question, and it'll be similar this week if someone starts getting off the chain. We'll look at both the scoreboard and what that's doing, the game, the momentum, as well as just the individual impact. So, the decision is not a simple one, as someone's having a lot of kicks and handballs that we're going to make a decision to tag. We won't go down that path.
Besides that, hamstring 100%?
Yeah, so much noise around it. We found ourselves in a position for 2 weeks where, through a little bit of luck when it comes to health of our list and no contact injuries, and that we can make decisions in games. We made that decision last week. We've lost Isaac to a hammy the last 2 games prior to that at the MCG. I'd be lying if I didn't say there's some scars in the back of my mind as we come in and he runs and kicks one from 45 from the boundary line. We ended up making a decision, and the decision we made was Isaac. There's a bit of talk about him being sore. I mean, every player's had soreness, and there were periods through the game where guys had small knocks, but it would be lovely to be in that position every week, and we know at the moment that's a luxury for us. We're going to do what we can to manage players if that's a possibility, but we understand that we're going to be challenged in that space going forward.
Can we see more of that? Can we see more of that this year if you are in the same position?
Well, yeah. I mean, as an example, I'd love to play Taylor Walker every week for 23 rounds, but we understand and we know that the stats tell you once you're the other side of 30, it's going to be a really tough gig for him to be able to do that. So to get a half a game in the first round is a bonus for us. And does that mean we don't need to take Tex out for a full game? Maybe. Again, we won't know, but it's all about management. Decisions aren't made just for the moment, they're made in that space for the season.
He's had times when he's been kind of on the outer, maybe even could left, but Matt Crouch just started the season. I mean, how important is the role that he's playing for you guys in the midfield? And from a story perspective, how almost proud of? Yeah, are you proud of him in the way that he's been able to fight that?
Yeah, good work. Incredibly proud. Matty wasn't on the outer at all from inside the four walls. Matty was dealing with some challenges around his body, with his hips and the way he was able to move and the way he could penetrate a game. And his strength is through his hips. His strength is what he does inside the contest. And it's done over a short distance, and it often releases a player who's a teammate, who then becomes that player that we all highlight and look at and go, oh wow, he's an incredible player. But if you go back and look where it all started, Matty's often at the start of that. We've been able to put some players around him that complement him, but he's also done a hell of a lot of work on his body and getting himself back to the fitness and the stuff when he was an All-Australian and when he was a club best and fairest.
How about game 250 for Rory Laird? He's been one of the great rookie success stories in league history.
Awesome story. Lucky enough to coach him as a junior at Scotch College, and he was. It's interesting. I thought he was always going to get drafted. He went as a rookie, which was incredible. And he's just gone on to play 250. So 1.86% of players play 250 games that have played over the history of the game. So it's an incredible effort. We'll celebrate that today. Make sure you get some shots of the special race we've set up, the Guard of Honour as he comes out. But he's loved by his teammates, Lairdy. We do take the mickey out of him a little bit, and that's only because he's a small player who's played well above his height, for 250 games now.
How much is his move to halfback been beneficial for the side this year?
Well, I think it's been beneficial for both. The most pleasing part about it, you talk about pride, the way Lairdy approached that was open conversation with myself, both of us throwing around ideas about what we think might be best for the team. And Lairdy ended up in that position saying, I think that might be best for the team. So, it's a credit to him, and he's now working with a young group of backs and challenging himself in a different space, probably one that he hasn't spent as much time in, which is that, being a real father figure or a leader to a young group. I think Lairdy's always been a professional. He's locked in on his processes, but now he's put team first, and that's what he's really thinking about, and he's playing some really high-level footy.
How have you evaluated the defensive effort during the week from the weekend, which you obviously conceded 100 points? Is that just a byproduct of kicking 25 goals and playing a bit more of a taking style of footy?
Well, no, we played a side that can score. We know Essendon, if you don't get it right, they're potent. They can really hurt you back the other way, and we knew that coming in, and so part of our plan going in was, it's easy to say, we had to execute. We did that really well last week. We executed with the ball. When we didn't, we got punished. And the last quarter was an example of that. I think it was 7 goals to 6. Every time we made a mistake, they went down and scored. So we've looked back on that. And it shows us the fine line between where we're at the moment. We feel like we're dialed in. It can be a tiny 0.5% where you're not quite getting things right, where you can get hurt the other way. And that's what happened.